Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. To get right to it, I, 29 female, am currently in the middle of a legal battle with my mother, 54 female, over my inheritance, which she used to spoil my half-sister, 19 female, the daughter she had from an affair. I've been dealing with this mess for years, and I've reached my breaking point. Now I'm suing her, and she's crying to anyone who will listen about how I'm the ungrateful daughter who's taking her to court after all she's been through. But there's so much more to this story, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm the one being unreasonable here. So here I am, asking, am I the a-hole? I need to take you back to when this all started, about 20 years ago. My parents were your typical suburban couple. My dad, rest in peace, was a hardworking man who adored my mom. He provided for us, making sure my mom didn't have to work a day in her life. And my mom seemed like the perfect stay-at-home mother. She did all the things a good wife and mother was supposed to do, at least on the surface. Behind the scenes, however, my mother was having an affair with my dad's best friend, Paul. Paul was also married with a family of his own. They had been friends for years, and my dad trusted him completely. I remember as a kid, Paul's family would come over for barbecues, family trips, you name it. My dad treated Paul like a brother. Looking back, I feel sick at how oblivious we all were. When I was around 9 years old, my mom became pregnant with my half-sister. Let's call her Emma. At first, my dad was ecstatic. He thought they were having another child together, and he was so happy about growing our family. But then, about 6 months into the pregnancy, Paul's wife found out about the affair. She confronted Paul, and of course, everything exploded. I'll never forget the look on my dad's face when he found out. I was too young to fully understand what was happening at the time, but I knew something was terribly wrong. The truth came out. Emma wasn't my dad's child. She was Paul's. My dad was devastated. It broke him. But for reasons I still can't fully understand, my dad forgave my mom. He couldn't let go of her, even after everything. He stayed with her, even knowing she was carrying his friend's child. Paul, on the other hand, completely abandoned my mother and Emma. He chose to stay with his own family and left my mom to deal with the fallout. After Emma was born, my dad raised her as his own. He provided for her, loved her, and never treated her any differently than he treated me. He was a good man, maybe too good. I loved my dad more than anything, and I resented my mom for what she did to him. I could see the sadness in his eyes sometimes, like he never fully recovered from what happened, but he pushed through it for the sake of our family. Growing up, it became very clear that my mom favored Emma. I get it. Emma's biological father wanted nothing to do with her, and my mom probably felt guilty for bringing her into such a complicated situation. But that guilt turned into spoiling Emma rotten. Meanwhile, I was basically pushed to the side. If Emma wanted something, she got it. New clothes, trips, expensive hobbies, whatever she wanted, my mom made sure she had it. If I asked for anything, I was told to stop being selfish and that I should be grateful for what I already had. I remember asking my mom why she treated Emma so differently, and she would always say, "Emma didn't have a father like you did. She deserves more because life hasn't been fair to her." That always stung, because yes, I had a father, but I also watched that father break down because of my mother's betrayal. My dad did everything for me, but I had to watch him suffer in silence, pretending like everything was okay. About 5 years ago, my dad passed away unexpectedly. It was a huge loss for me. He was the one person who had always been there for me, the one person who I could count on. In his will, he left me and Emma equal shares of his estate. This included the house we grew up in and a substantial amount of money that he had saved over the years. My dad was very responsible with money, and he made sure we would both be taken care of after he was gone. After his death, my mom started leaning even more into her favoritism. She began treating Emma like she was the only child she had left, which hurt because I was grieving too. Every decision about the estate went through my mother, even though the money and assets were supposed to be split between me and Emma. But since my mom had access to the accounts, she began dipping into the money, always for Emma's sake. First, it was paying for Emma's private university tuition. Then it was a brand new car for her. Then it was covering trips and vacations. Before I knew it, My inheritance was almost entirely gone. I hadn't even touched most of it, planning to use it for a house or invest it for my future. Meanwhile, Emma, the golden child, got everything handed to her on a silver platter. My mom kept insisting that Emma needed it more because poor Emma never had a father. After years of watching this happen, I finally confronted my mom. I told her that the money was supposed to be for both me and Emma, and that it wasn't fair that she was spending it all on Emma while I got nothing. My mom's response? "You're being selfish. You had a father who loved you. Emma didn't. She deserves this." That was the final straw for me. I told her I was going to take legal action if she didn't stop spending what was left of the inheritance and make things right. She laughed it off, saying that I wouldn't dare sue my own mother. But I did. I hired a lawyer and filed a lawsuit against her for mismanaging the inheritance and violating the terms of my dad's will. Now, my mother is furious. She's telling everyone in our extended family that I'm ungrateful and that I'm trying to take everything from her and Emma. She's crying about how hard her life has been, how she raised us all alone after my dad died, a blatant lie, and how Emma deserves all the help she can get because of the trauma of not having her biological father around. She's painted me as the villain, and most of the family seems to be buying into it. I feel like I've tried to be patient and understanding for years. I didn't sue her immediately. I waited. I confronted her about it multiple times before resorting to legal action. But every time I brought it up, she just doubled down on how Emma deserved more because of her tragic upbringing. It's not like I don't care about Emma. She's my half-sister, and I do feel bad that her biological father walked out on her. But that doesn't mean she gets to have everything while I'm left with nothing. My dad wanted us both to be taken care of, and now that he's gone, my mom has completely disregarded that. Now that the lawsuit is underway, my mom is constantly playing the victim, crying about how I've betrayed her. She says that after everything she's done for me, I'm turning my back on her in her time of need. She's even dragged Emma into this, and Emma now refuses to speak to me because she believes I'm trying to ruin her life. So, am I the a-hole for suing my mother after she spent my entire inheritance on my half-sister? Well, OP's father was very generous to leave half of the inheritance to his wife's affair child in the first place. And OP's mother spent OP's inheritance, plain and simple. She's not the victim here. She's the one who made all the wrong decisions. Favoritism can destroy relationships, and it sounds like she's been favoring OP's half-sister her entire life. OP's dad wanted OP and OP's half-sister both to be taken care of, not for OP's mother to funnel everything to Emma. OP gave her so many chances to make it right, and she chose to ignore OP. Taking legal action was the only option left. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Wow, I'm so sorry you're going through this. But I'm curious, did Emma know that your mom was using your inheritance to pay for all of her things? Was she complicit in this? Or is your mom keeping her in the dark? It might help to understand where Emma stands in all this, although it doesn't excuse your mother's actions. Oh my gosh, your mother sounds like a piece of work. I get that Emma had a rough start, but she's 19 now. She's old enough to know what's fair and what isn't. And your mom? Wow. She should be ashamed of herself for playing the victim when she's the one who betrayed you and your dad. You're not just fighting for yourself. You're honoring your dad's wishes. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. Don't let anyone make you feel bad about this. I think this is an everyone sucks here situation. But hear me out. Your mom is 100% in the wrong for spending your inheritance and favoring your half-sister all these years. No question. But I feel like suing her is only going to make the situation uglier, especially when your half-sister is involved. I get that you feel like you had no choice, but is there any chance to mediate this out of court? You're probably never going to get a fair relationship with your mom or Emma if this turns into a long, drawn-out battle. Just my 2 cents. I've been with my fiance for 3 years now, and we started to talk about marriage. We live together and have for the last 9 months. We are very compatible in a lot of areas, rarely argue, and generally really enjoy each other's company. When quarantine hit, I lost my job, and so haven't worked since the end of March. My field of work is hard to get into anyway, so throw a pandemic into the mix, and I am struggling to find another job. My boyfriend has been able to work from home, and so we have spent a lot of time together during isolation. We were close to begin with, but now we feel a lot closer, hence the marriage conversation. So we started talking about getting engaged. I've always thought that I would love the simple get down on one knee proposal, and I would also like the ring to be a surprise. I'd love to know what sort of ring he would choose, and personally, I think it adds to the element of surprise. I expressed to him what I don't want in a ring, and that is too much bling. I don't want a ridiculously large stone, and I also don't want a really expensive one. I personally can't justify spending a fortune on a piece of jewelry. We then started to discuss what sort of wedding we would like, etc. Fast forward to the next morning, and as I'm making our coffee, I spot a new money box on the countertop. It is one of those tins that you can only open with a tin opener. I ask him why we have that, as we have a joint savings account, and so it seemed unnecessary. He said it's for me, and I can start saving for my engagement ring. I must have looked very confused, because he said he thought that I wanted to get engaged. I said I do, but I didn't think I would be buying my own ring. He actually gets mildly annoyed and says, "Well, why should I pay for it? I'm not going to be wearing it, so that's unfair." He then tells me I am entitled and spoiled, and how he can't believe I would expect him to pay for something that he is getting no use out of. To add to the annoyance, he makes very good money in his job. After we have our monthly outgoings, we are left with a very generous amount of money to play with. Put it this way, if he went out tomorrow and bought me a ring for £1,000, he would still have money left over to spend as he pleases. I also just want to add here that I never ask him for anything. We are pretty hardcore savers. We are currently saving for our dream house, and I often go months without buying myself something new. Also, in our conversation the other night, I told him that when it comes to buying my ring, I do not want him to spend anything over £400. There are plenty of amazing diamond rings in that price range that are exactly what I'm looking for. Guys, I'm kind of flabbergasted. Do I have a right to feel this way, though? Does he have a point? Wow. Okay, here we go. It's fine to have feelings about the marriage industrial complex. It's fine to think that engagement rings are outdated, problematic, or whatever. That's all fine. It's fine to communicate these things to your partner in a respectful, calm way. What's not fine is to get your partner excited about getting engaged and then tell them to drop their spare dollars in a piggy bank like they're 5, and then act like it's so weird and bratty that your partner is like, "Wait, what?" It's not fine to pretend like the man buying the engagement ring isn't held as the standard tradition by like everyone. It's not fine to react to your feelings with condescension and name-calling. It's super not fine that he doesn't see the point of spending money on something he won't wear. Then, in the comments, I see the story about your car. Wow, that's another level. He purposefully manipulated and lied to you to get what he wanted. It's even worse since it's regarding a huge financial decision. These are all red flags for financial A. What's yours is his, and what's his is his. And if it's not his, he'll lie until it is. Look, once is a mistake, twice is a pattern. I would bet a lot of money that there are many other instances of this type of behavior, even if it's small. Does he always forget his wallet? When you go out to dinner, does he order the lobster, 4 drinks and dessert when you just got a salad, and then want to split the check down the middle? Is he fair about expenses when you travel? Is he slow or forgets to pay money back? Well, why should I pay for it? I'm not going to be wearing it. So that's unfair. An actual real living and breathing 24-year-old man said this about an engagement ring? No one could possibly be this ignorant, utterly stupid, and have made it this many years. I'd have to suspect he's getting cold feet. Edit. Wait, I messed up. He's 36 years old. He doesn't want to get engaged and/or married. I'm pretty non-traditional and probably won't want my fiance to get me a ring when I get married. But even I think this guy is acting like an a-hole. Like, he got mad because after he never once expressed that he didn't like the expectations of a man buying a wedding ring. After listening to you talking about him buying you a ring, a great time for him to have, brought that up, you thought he would buy you a ring. Is he trying to pretend that somehow he didn't know that's how it usually goes down? I have a feeling this is going to graduate to him eventually acting mad because you thought he was going to get you a birthday present. But what benefit would that do him? Why are the dudes that date women a decade younger than them always like this? I have a best friend, Kristen. To preface, Kristen is in general an awesome friend. She is very polite and fun to be with. We have always gotten along great. She is pretty much a sister to me, and I love her and only want what's best for her. So, a year and a half ago, Kristen was getting tired of living with her parents for a number of reasons. The main one being that she had gotten a new job, and the 1.5 hour commute one way was really starting to get to her. We live in a pretty expensive area right outside New York City, because husband and I too commute. However, since we both mainly work remotely, it benefits us to have parks, country clubs, and actual neighborhoods, but still have the bus literally outside our door. It's a win-win. We are currently saving for a house. Geez, it's like $500,000 for a 2-bedroom and no backyard. But we still really like our current place. Kristen had a boyfriend at the time. However, in order to feel ready to get into the groove, pace, and paperwork of the large hospitals in our area, we had moved 3 hours away to work for a year at a slightly smaller one, to serve as a stepping stone. Half a year had passed since he started working, but Kristen couldn't wait another 6 months and was looking to move out. She complained to me that she needed a place and needed it now. The stress was too much. She proposed all of us moving into a townhouse. We currently have a small 2-bedroom, one room converted to an office since we work remotely mostly. She proposed husband and I could get one floor, and she and boyfriend could get the other. For 6 months, we'd split the rent 3 ways, and then boyfriend would move down, and we could split the rent 4 ways. Even with 4 people, the rent alone wouldn't allow us to save for a house, so we disagreed. Kristen lamented, and so husband and I decided we could give her our office, move our desks into the bedroom, and in 6 months, boyfriend would move down, and she would move out. For a half of a year, it seemed fine. Kristen would be closer to her job at a discounted rate, and we would get some extra money to put toward the house fund. Awesome. Well, 6 months passed, and Kristen and boyfriend broke up. No biggie, she can stay here. We all get along great, and we can still be saving money. Let the good times roll. Now, the thing about Kristen is that she has a lot of medical issues. She has a chronic illness and is also very accident-prone. This leads her to being skipping out on work. During her time with us, she also got a surgery for her sinuses, and paired with her chronic illness, had left her to miss a lot of work, equals late rent and IOUs. Finally, due to unrelated reasons, her company downsized and got rid of an entire department. She lost her job. Uh-oh. To this, she said, "The hell with it," and quit searching for an office job to pursue her dream of working in film. She started working as a PA and in sound, carrying 50 pounds of equipment for hours at a time. She is only 5'2", and working 15-hour shifts. She seemed to enjoy the work, and it made her happy. I was proud and supported her. She then got cast for a role and went on an intense diet, losing about 25 pounds in a single month. Because of her intense schedule, it became my burden to prepare her specially made meals. I already did all the cooking at home, but now, aside from the meals husband and I already ate, I had to specially prepare hers. She stopped contributing to cleaning up. I also do all her laundry, which is okay since the laundry room is connected to our bedroom, as well as doing errands for her because she is too busy to run them herself. The madness stops for a while when she trips on set, causing her to twist an ankle and be in a leg brace for some time. Her chronic illness then flares up again. The leg, combined with the intense diet and crazy hours, finally get to her. She is a little behind on rent because she is a little behind on work. Finally, she lands a position as a production coordinator. She's moving up, and I can't be more happy for her. However, in October, she gets into a car accident. Not her fault. An elderly man decided to pass by the left lane, completely totaling her car. Kristen can walk and talk, but she has some neck, shoulder, and head pain that cause her to be dizzy and faint. Doctors first say that it is whiplash, but after a few weeks of it not going away, decided that this must be something more. However, she needs an MRI, and her insurance is making a big deal over covering it. So, for the time being, no MRI. Kristen stops working. She has no car. My husband and I encourage her to get a lawyer, and she said her dad is on it. She can't drive, so for several months, my life turns upside down. I cook, I clean, I become Kristen's chauffeur. She was particular about the hospitals, so I would wind up driving her an hour or 2 away to see different specialists. My work hours dropped because my life revolved around being Kristen's nurse. She couldn't afford anything, even food, so now not only no rent, but we'd be paying for all her meals, etc. as well. In that time span, she also got a pet cat, which she is allergic to. So it's not allowed in her room. Never mind, my husband is also slightly allergic to it. The cat isn't a horrible cat, but it is still a kitten and gets into a lot of mischief, breaking husband's and mine belongings. Kristen apologizes but couldn't pay it back. Now, the thing is, Kristen is an only child who grew up upper middle class. The difference between her and I is she would own her own horses and have 7 dogs and Prada shoes, while I was sharing a bed with my younger sister at 17. So she has this sort of thing with money that she could almost always get what she wanted because she could always afford it. So from October to January, she kept thinking her issues were temporary and she'd be able to work and pay us back immediately. So while she couldn't give us rent or food money, she would still go out and buy an entire 7-book hardcover collector's edition. And not just one, but 2, because, well, the other is so they won't get dirty. She would easily spend $200 at Lush because her skin is sensitive, she has allergies, and needs it. I've hinted that perhaps it's time to move back in with her parents, but she will lament and say how she's almost a 30-year-old woman and can't go back to being a kid, which I understand, but beggars can't exactly be choosers. In February, she finally spoke with a lawyer. She says that once the case is underway, I'll be able to back pay you guys and more. But who really knows? Her mother gave her her old car, which she doesn't like because it's pretty old, and she wants a new Prius with leather seats, etc., etc. She's angry that this old guy ruined her car and ruined her life. Her doctors might okay for her to start working in March. Maybe. Sorry this has been so long, but pretty much this all had me freaking out a few weeks ago. We were celebrating my husband's birthday, and husband, as an early Valentine's Day gift, got us tickets for a trip to London. Mother-in-law commented, "Oh, Kristen is not coming? What will she do if you guys aren't taking care of her?" All of a sudden, Kristen needs to go. My husband is super chill and agrees, but I get a little bummed. Wasn't this for Valentine's? Our hotel is in the center of London, and Kristen can't afford that, so she takes an air mattress to sleep in our room. She gets her dad to pay for her plane ticket as an early birthday present, and arrangements are set. We give her our spare suitcase, help her pack, and overall have a lovely trip. It wasn't the romantic getaway I imagined, but still very fun. Then I get this message. Kristen loves this TV show, and it might not get renewed for a second season. So she texted me this comment on the finale. I just had a really depressing realization. I think part of the reason I cling so hard to Timeless and am so invested in it isn't just that it's a good show. That was the height of how awesome everything was for me before the accident. That was the last thing I did at Cannes before leaving. Which, besides sleeping in on Monday and configuring my prints I bought, was the last thing I did before the accident. It was the last nice thing I ever had. Last nice thing I ever had. What the duck? Not me taking care of your pet, cleaning up, cooking, letting you come on our London trip, all the driving I've done, living for half a year rent-free. Clearly, none of these are nice things. What started as a great way to save money for a house has become me transforming into a full-time nurse. Husband is all very chill about this because he's not the one feeling the full extent of it. He's not being Kristen's personal assistant. He's not canceling his work hours or fiddling around with lame hospital Wi-Fi to spend days making Kristen feel better. He's not working in the living room while her kitten knocks my cup of water all over my laptop, almost frying it. Kristen is not a bad person, and she is in a tough spot, but her parents are only 35 minutes away. She has mentioned many times that she feels terrible about the situation and wants to pay us back. I've heard her bawling on the phone to another friend that she feels like a leech. She recently started working at her dad's office as an accountant, though it's only part-time, as she claims the pain is too much for her to be hunched over a desk the whole day, and she hates the job, wanting to go back to film. However, the year and a half she's been here, 1/3 of it has been rent-free, room and board covered. Even simple things like, for example, my car being in the shop, so may I borrow hers? I might need to work, so no, sorry. Hours later after taking a bus and then transferring to a train. Oh, I took a Benadryl and fell asleep. Guess you could have used it after all. She will occasionally pay for food, but those times are very far and few in between, and don't really balance out. For example, she'll pay $40 for my husband and with a surprise takeout meal, but then she'll go to her friend's birthday party and ask us to cover $80. I tried to propose that it would be better for her if she was with her parents. Her dad and she could carpool to work, and she'd be closer to a lot of her doctors. But maybe I'll get better soon. Even if she does get better soon, knowing her history, she will trip, or her chronic illness will flare up again, or something. If this was some random roomie from Craigslist, I'd give them a 30-day notice and tell them to pack their bags. However, she's actually sick. But the freebie days are over. How can I tell her to leave without sounding like a cruel and horrible person? She bought a cat and is spending money on luxury items without giving you guys anything. Why the duck are you letting this chick walk all over you? Grow a spine and kick her the duck out. She isn't treating you like a friend. She is treating you like a servant and a bank account. Kristen, I love you, but we can't afford to take care of you anymore. You need to find a way to pay us rent, or we need you to move out. And please, stop doing all the extra crap for her. You should have never been running her errands or cooking for her unless she was paying you or reciprocating the favors. She sounds like she needs to figure out how to adult. She won't figure it out if you do it for her.